WNBA Finals ratings are in for game number 1.
When are numbers not what the numbers are when you see them? Oh, sure feels like there might be some funny business going on. Is there a little nasty work going on behind the scenes? A little abracadabra, bewitched action? Hey, Stephanie White knows this one. Yeah, she's conjuring up ratings for the Aces and the Mercury.
Welcome back to Basketball Strike. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell, because this story is about to get intense. The WNBA has just stumbled headfirst into what might be its most disastrous public relations nightmare yet. This time, there's no easy way to twist the narrative or spin the story. After loudly celebrating what they called record-breaking ratings for the WNBA Finals, both the league and ESPN now find themselves facing intense backlash from fans and analysts who are accusing them of presenting exaggerated, or even fabricated, viewership numbers. ESPN proudly announced that the finals opener had pulled the largest audience in nearly 3 decades, calling it a historic milestone for women's basketball. But once people began to dig deeper into the data, the impressive narrative started to unravel. According to reports, this finals opener was the most watched since the WNBA's inaugural season back in 1997. That means it took almost 27 years for the league to reach this point, a span of time that now has many questioning whether this record was truly earned or simply manufactured. Everything began with one simple question that sent the internet buzzing. If the finals really were such a massive cultural and television success, why didn't anyone seem to notice? Almost immediately, social media was filled with puzzled fans admitting they hadn't heard a single mention of the game anywhere. Not on television, not on sports talk radio, and not even on the internet where trends usually explode overnight. There were no viral highlights, no heated debates, no hashtags climbing the trending charts. So how could a so-called ratings phenomenon disappear from the public conversation almost instantly? As it turned out, the answer had less to do with basketball itself, and everything to do with credibility. When ESPN initially announced that the game averaged 1.9 million viewers, with a peak of 2.5 million, the network framed it as a groundbreaking moment. Headlines across media outlets echoed that it was the most watched WNBA Finals game since 1997. To the casual observer, it looked like the league had finally reached the breakthrough moment it had been striving for over the past 2 decades. Solid proof that women's basketball had arrived as a mainstream attraction. But that celebration didn't last very long. Within just a few hours, analysts and skeptical fans began poking holes in the story, and the entire narrative started to collapse. One commentator even admitted, "When I saw those numbers, my first reaction, literally the first words out of my mouth, were, well, that's bullshit." What stood out immediately was that all the data came directly from ESPN itself. Normally, official TV ratings are published through Nielsen, the industry's trusted and independent authority that provides public reports with detailed breakdowns. But in this case, there was no such Nielsen report available. Instead, ESPN claimed their data was based on Nielsen estimates, conveniently keeping the actual raw numbers locked away from public view. That instantly raised red flags. After all, when a broadcaster publishes its own ratings without independent verification, it's like grading your own exam and announcing that you got a perfect score. Then came the discovery that changed everything: the fine print. Hidden deep in the report was a note about changes to Nielsen's measurement system. Earlier that year, Nielsen had updated its ratings methodology to something called Big Data Plus Panel, which greatly expanded what counts as a television viewer. This system doesn't just count people sitting at home watching the game, it includes anyone who might have seen even a few seconds of the broadcast in public places such as bars, restaurants, gyms, airports, and hotels. Essentially, anyone who happened to glance at a screen while walking by could be counted as part of the viewership. In short, the WNBA's so-called record-breaking audience could have included thousands of people who never actually intended to watch the game. This revelation completely flipped the narrative on its head. What ESPN and the WNBA had promoted as evidence of massive fan growth was, in reality, just a technical shift in how ratings are calculated. The huge spike wasn't the result of millions of new fans tuning in, it was a statistical illusion. The methodology had inflated the numbers, turning casual, unintentional glances into what appeared to be engaged viewers. Critics quickly pointed out that the supposed explosion in popularity wasn't organic growth, it was data inflation disguised as success. Sports fans began asking obvious questions. One fan commented, "I listen to sports radio every day, and there's no talk about the WNBA Finals. I turn on ESPN, nothing. Fox Sports 1, nothing. I don't hear anyone discussing it. So where are these 1.9 million viewers coming from? Are they silent?" That skepticism only deepened as fans started comparing the WNBA's alleged viewership with the public reaction, or lack thereof. Whenever a major sporting event truly breaks through, you feel it everywhere. The Super Bowl dominates pop culture. March Madness floods social media. Even random mid-season football games spark debates and memes. But this time, the conversation around the WNBA Finals was practically non-existent. Even ESPN's own daily talk shows, which could have easily celebrated their historic accomplishment, barely mentioned it. There were no highlight packages, no debate segments, no viral clips replaying key moments, just silence. It began to feel less like a genuine breakthrough and more like a coordinated cover-up. Fans online began comparing the situation to other sports and entertainment industries. NASCAR races, MLB matchups, and even lower-tier football games were generating far more buzz online despite pulling in fewer viewers on paper. That exposed a glaring contradiction. If the WNBA really drew close to 2 million viewers, why wasn't there any cultural footprint to match? Analysts began joking that the ratings weren't counting actual fans, they were counting ghosts. As criticism continued to build, more concerning details came to light. The official Nielsen data for the finals had still not been released publicly, meaning ESPN remained the sole source of all information. That's when people realized the deeper issue. ESPN isn't just any broadcaster. It's a direct business partner of the WNBA, with a vested financial interest in making the league appear strong. The healthier the WNBA's image, the more money ESPN stands to make through advertising, sponsorships, and future broadcasting rights. That relationship created an obvious conflict of interest and made fans question whether ESPN had an incentive to exaggerate the truth. Online communities erupted in outrage. Reddit threads and Twitter spaces filled with accusations that ESPN had manufactured phantom viewers to make the finals appear more successful than they really were. The phrase, "ghost watchers," started circulating, mocking the idea that millions of invisible fans supposedly tuned in but left no trace anywhere online. Others compared the situation to Hollywood's box office tactics, where studios inflate opening weekend numbers to fabricate the illusion of success, even when ticket sales don't match the hype. Within smaller sports circles, a new term began trending: manufactured success.